There's no lag at all on this. What's up, everybody? We are here. We're just Jeff and I were just laughing because there's no lag. There's practically no lag on the stream. That's pretty cool. Because usually, your whatever what shows up for you is just could be up to 20 seconds behind what I'm saying, but right now it's about 1 second. So that's pretty cool. Don't jinx it. Yeah, I know, man. Okay, so we're waiting. Elijah is restarting his computer. Man, it's amazing that I think about all the technology issues that we have, and yeah, I can't imagine that things happen as often and as well as they happen. Really like self-driving cars and that sort of thing. Holy smokes! Which reminds me, by the way, I had my first self-driving Tesla experience in Miami on the way to the airport, and yeah, it was really wild. I was just kind of watching the whole thing, and yeah, it was cool. And when we were out in LA, we wanted to ride in one of the Waymo cars, but we weren't able to, just for whatever reason. We didn't have time to pull that off. So uh, yeah, it's just intense, to see how things uh, are going to unroll, and maybe unravel sometimes. So I don't know. Um, anyway, uh, it's good to be here. It's good to kind of be in the saddle of things. Also, Elijah, there you are, man. Now you're muted. Dang, holy smokes, dog. Play with it down there. See if you can make it happen somehow. Just keep fiddling around. Anyway, I'm feeling really good. I always have the idea, or I often think about. Um, I often have the idea that at some point we're going to run out of topics for the class, and but we never seem to. And I have so many that are kind of coming up. Yesterday, for example, I had two students who were not from the U.S. With me in conversation use the word cringe. And Lori, a couple weeks ago, had the idea that we should do a class on cringe and what that means and what it means to different generations and what it means to people from different parts of the world. So, in several different languages, I've tried, for example, to have a conversation about what it means to be awkward. And, like in Spanish, it's really hard to get to get that word, the true meaning of it. And in Korean, it's not possible either. And I'm wondering about other languages. And so cringe is one of those that I'm just really wondering if it's kind of a global generational thing that young people across, younger people who are really kind of in a certain level of conversation with one another, have a real, or share an understanding of what that means, something to be cringe, and or cringy or whatever. And so it's more generational than it is cultural. And anyway, so just things like that, it's so fascinating. And this semester, we haven't really dug into kind of inequality in a way, but I think we're going to next Thursday. We have a guest coming to class who was one of our very first facilitators. He was on the first team of facilitators at World in Conversation, and just really creative, really very just a really super smart kid. A kid. Oh my God, he's a man now. He's a middle-aged man, but yeah. So he's visiting. He's getting an award at Penn State. So his name's Takim. He's gonna come to class. It's always such a great honor for me to have, or cool for me really, to have people from the past show up and then be able to have them come into class. And he was actually in class during 9/11 and on that day. So he and I have a kind of real deep connection. Okay, so we're gonna see. Yeah, the two cringeworthy displays. Yeah. Trump's response to the Japanese prime minister. Yeah, that was like, well, actually, I don't know if that was cringe. That was actually really clever. I mean, it's not very diplomatic at all. It's not really what you. It's the kind of thing you would do kind of in private. You don't want to do it on the public stage. But Trump, what they said was the prime minister said, or the Japanese delegation said, "Hey, like it would have been really a good idea to kind of," because he was kind of haranguing them for not supporting our keeping the Gulf open, right? And there you go. Are you there?
Yeah, I switched to headphones and that's working,
All right.
but we need to figure out what's going on when I don't have them on.
All
Yeah.
right, man. Well, so anyway, they were saying, look, it would have been a good idea if you'd have let us know. And he's saying, like, look, you should be helping out. Like, this is a global issue here. You guys need oil. Everyone needs oil. You need to do that. And she said, well, or they said, the Japanese delegation said, well, it would have been a kind of a good idea if you'd have let us given the rest of us a heads up as to what you were going to do, when you start this huge bombing, this major war. And he said, well, you would have been a good idea to give us a heads up about Pearl Harbor. And like, I mean, this is Trump just, man, his ability to say things that are like that. But he said something else the other day about this crash in LaGuardia that I was really also really struck by. Somebody was asking him, kind of pushing him, like, what do you think? And it's like it's a catastrophe. And so what people in charge do is they come out and they say, okay, my God, we can't have this. We're going to look into it and we're going to fix it, and whatever the problem was, and da 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 da. And like, you just like, we're gonna make sure it never happens again, because that's this kind of level of leadership, right? It's what politicians do all the time. It's just, God. But what Trump said was basically, look, man, it's a terrible tragedy. A lot of this stuff, these occupations, things are very dangerous, and sometimes really unfortunate and bad things happen. And this is, and sometimes people make mistakes, and this is, it's like making mistakes is inevitable. Human beings will make a mistake. Tragedies will happen. And that's just, unfortunately, that's just kind of life. And I thought, my God, is that not just,
Me neither.
yeah, I don't, Jeff, I don't. All right, hang on.
Sorry.
Hang on.
Sorry, folks. Sam went, his camera went off, so that's interesting. Apologies for that.
Did it go off in the stream too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was opening up Slack to message you when it happened, but you
I caught it.
flagged it before.
I could hear him, but he wasn't visible in the call. I was
He's
like, what
gone.
the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Failed to start camera. Wonderful.
Dude, what is going on?
Let me try again. But even so, now we can't hear him. We couldn't hear Sam earlier. Now we can't hear, or you can't hear Elijah earlier. Now we can't hear Sam.
Right.
It's going crazy. I did see bio mod while we wait for Sam to come back. You mentioned there was a social media trial. A jury just ordered Meta to pay $2 million and Google to pay $1 million to a girl who said that essentially the two companies led to a social media addiction And
So she sued because
she sued
she was a
Meta.
victim of social media addiction?
Yeah.
Interesting. What are the details? Do you know the details of her
Uh,
case exactly? Like how she's trying to position herself as a victim of that? So interesting.
essentially, they're saying that the tools and technology that Meta and YouTube use is an addictive product for people, and they aren't adequately telling the public about that ahead of time. And so children and teenagers who are using these technologies are
Mhm.
having a difficult time because they're
Interesting.
from a young age, they're involved where everybody's now watching YouTube. We were in my grad class, we were just talking about online streaming and YouTube videos and everything. I mean, everybody here watching the stream is watching YouTube right now. They're watching a YouTube stream, but like all day, every day, I'm watching YouTube, and a lot of people are also following suit where that like their number one way of communicating with the world is through social media. Everything's through it. It's super addictive to stay on. They give you games and try to get you to connect to famous celebrities, like just everything. Like if you're watching a huge streamer and they shout your name out, it's a huge adrenaline boost, and so people just stay on these
Right.
platforms for as long as possible.
So it's
So
like she was looking for something how like those nicotine pouches or like any type of like nicotine it says on the label like
right,
hazard this can be addictive. More so looking for some type of warning in that sense.
and maybe some type of warning, maybe some type of age restriction. I know that Facebook. I shouldn't say I know. I think they have an age limit of like 13 or something or 14. But I mean, that was there when I was growing up, and we still found a way to make Facebook accounts, when we were under that age limit, because you just lie about your age, right? So maybe the social media platforms need to do more to protect people. Maybe that's what the lawsuit was trying to get to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone in the stream was saying KR6FF is going to sue Heineken, uh, Quito Ecuadorian says, I have a solution, bring back physical newspapers, typewriters, problem solved.
Well, that's a funny thing because
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, you're so addicted." People are so addicted to their technology nowadays. And it's like, well, if you go back to before we had this technology, people were still addicted to getting the newspaper every day and just paying attention to that. There's a picture of people reading the news.
Right.
I shouldn't say addicted to getting the newspaper. That sounds weird. But
No,
people were
it does
like
sound weird, but
on a subway, and every person had a newspaper in front of them, and it was like
mhm.
that. We just
I guess
replaced
we
the newspaper with phones.
right. And I guess addiction is like how much does it take up your life, And I wonder, I bet I'm sure it was different, but like I wonder if there were any people where they just were absorbed by news in a way where they no longer were like interacting with the world in a certain way. That does sound weird to think about because it's definitely different in how a phone makes you engage
Yeah.
versus the way that I'm sure a newspaper would. He said, "How dare you diss?" Or he or she, Quito Ecuadorian, said, "How dare you diss newspapers, sir?" I don't know if anybody's dissing it.
No, definitely not.
Uh,
I don't diss
um,
newspapers nor the local library. In fact, everybody should have a local library card.
yeah, I need to get one for the one downtown. Zizendorf said, I so struggle with lawsuits for psychological addictions. Personal responsibility exists no longer, question
Yeah.
mark. The girl was a minor. Wouldn't her parents bear responsibility to not monitor her behavior? Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
where's the
people,
responsibility of
I,
the parents?
I'm wondering if people our age are going to try
Mhm.
to do like no tech Saturdays with their kids. My parents tried to do that when I was growing up and it never worked, but
Mm,
maybe it'll be more of a cultural thing.
interesting. Right. It's so interesting how phone, even with our students, we were talking about how during the post, so at the end of World in Conversation dialogues, the participants have something called post-program evaluation, where they take a survey to report how they think the dialogue went. And so we have data on what people are taking from these dialogues. And during that post-program evaluation, our facilitators will pull their phones out and just kind of lock into it, and we had a discussion about that on Monday about what are the impacts of just being in your phone, especially during recruitment season. You know, you have to kind of be aware of the people around you, and maybe someone's popping up to look up and maybe they have a question, but we're so locked in on our phones as facilitators that we're not paying attention to what's going on around us. Or even a moment at the end when you have a co-facilitator, you know, that's a moment where you can bond with them or have another conversation or keep the energy up. And that none of that can happen when you're just locked in on your phone. And it's just, and like, what about presence? Just like being present in the moment rather than needing something to fidget or do or look at.
Yeah.
Um,
Biomod said,
we
I
talked
wouldn't be
about that.
comfortable if I was Reddit right now. The karma system and the moderation system is 100% gamified. Yeah, 100. Like, if people who use Reddit, I'm sure one of the reasons why they're constantly commenting and stuff is trying to get upvotes and try to be at the highest part so that their account is seen or something. I don't know. I don't Reddit, but I could definitely see that. Anytime you gamify something, you're trying to make it more enticing. People within education are trying to do that all the time with classes because we're constantly competing. This is something that Sam talks about all the time. He always starts the semester saying the most interesting thing in this classroom is your cell phone. It's anything that's on your phone.
Yes.
For Sam listening, oh, here, I see you. Well, I dragged him in.
Can you send me an invite on? I'll try to get on with my phone.
Brought him into the call. Hopefully he's here.
I see him.
Yeah, I see him too, but I can't hear him. This is amazing.
Yeah,
for Sam, I don't think I can send you an invite because I just send you an invite to the server. But if you join from your phone, that'll do. Hold on, Samuel's calling me.
Mm-hmm. Discord is currently experiencing issues primarily affecting. Oh, really? Discord is currently experiencing issues primarily affecting voice calls, but the platform is partially operational. Yeah, I have a problem where my voice wasn't being recognized on Discord either, but then Jeff and I hopped on Zoom and that also wasn't working. So yeah, I think it might just be my issue, but after Black Hawk Down, Bay movie, Discord down. After Black Hawk Down, the new Michael Bay movie, Discord down. You'll never guess what happened. Nobody was able to communicate. Yeah, just a second as Jeff and Sam try to figure this out.
I'm on the phone with him. 1 second.
I love Reddit.
Yeah,
It's far less addicting than YouTube. Okay.
We're gonna move over
up,
to Zoom. Go to Sam's room.
Okay. All right, bet.
I'm just gonna
We'll be
turn
back.
all of the cameras off. Here, I'm gonna go to this one. Of course, now that I'm trying to. Okay, let me leave there, and we're gonna join Sam's Zoom real quick. Yeah, sorry guys. Discord it's its thing. All right, Elijah's here. All right. Just gonna wait for Sam, and then I'll get the videos back up.
Bet. It's crazy. I don't know what's up with my thing because this feels like it's more than a Discord issue. But
He's calling me again. He went to my Zoom, so he'll be here in a second.
Yeah, I heard him.
All right, Sam is here. It'll take me a second to get the videos back up, but you guys can chat.
Damn, dude. Yeah, Discord is something's crazy, man. All right.
Yeah, this is.
We got Lori, and just you'll have to change the name. Elijah, you're gonna be under Lori's name.
Oh, okay. It's
So
funny.
bloody annoying now.
Yeah, yo.
Right there we go.
It turned into Jeff and I to carry that for a second. I
Yeah,
was like, what are we doing?
dude. No, it's really I mean, I jinxed it by earlier. Stephen called it, man. I jinxed it. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, the connection's really awesome. And then there
Oh.
no, you know what? I was the other morning on Saturday morning, I was watching the BTS concert live from Seoul. It started
Okay.
at 7 a.m. Netflix ran it. And
Mm,
there's like 250, a quarter of a million people were there. And then I don't know how many were watching online. I never did figure it out, but
right.
um
Probably
or find
millions.
out. But I was thinking as I'm tuning into the live stream, I'm thinking, man, the engineers who are involved in this, first off, in the back, they must just be sweating bullets the entire time, and who are doing something like this. And then the amount of and then it's all throughout. I mean, again, the entire time, right? But just getting it started, I just cannot imagine what people go through. And then I wonder, what are the backup systems? There must. I mean, we
Right.
flipped over to Zoom pretty quickly, so because Jeff's very talented,
Right. Uh-huh.
but we were not prepared for it. Like we would have, and if this happens a lot, we'd always be prepared and we'll just hop right in. And so within, 90 seconds, we would make the switch. But yeah, man, I was thinking, dang, I'd hate to be in one of those positions.
Yeah, just in terms of like the issues that happen here, I can only imagine with millions of people watching, and
Can you imagine that, man? Can you
it's gonna be
imagine?
crazy.
And everything that goes into that and what has to happen and like, oh my God. Anyway, what I was saying was
Hmm.
that I really appreciated. I always want people to just come out and speak the truth, man. You're not gonna. We're gonna have accidents are going to happen. Human beings are going to make mistakes. That's just the nature of it. Um, Whatever it is, there are going to be mistakes. The roofer with the staple gun eventually is going to a certain number of roofers are going to shoot staples or nail guns. You're going to shoot nails into their legs or their foot or whatever. There's nothing you can
Hmm.
do about that, man. It's just the nature of life. Even the most careful people. And so the fact that Trump came out and he's like, "Look, man, these are dangerous things, and sometimes people make mistakes, and it's a tragedy, and like move on, like not,
And what?
oh my God, we're gonna fix it and we'll take care of everything, and oh, we'll make sure
Mm,
it never happens again, and that kind of stuff." God, I so dislike that.
what do you
So
think that did for those that were listening to that? What did that do for them? Like that kind of, I guess you're saying you appreciate the fact that he was able to speak to a reality rather than like
yeah.
cover up a reality.
Yeah, just a reality. Let's not pretend. Like,
Hmm.
it's sort of like I'm gonna come into office and I'm gonna fix. I mean, of course, now, of course, he did a countless number of other nonsensical statements that he's said over the years, but once in a while he says something that, probably more than once in a while, if I listen to him all the time, he's probably
Right.
quite thoughtful. I mean, most of us, you know what I mean? Most of the time are pretty thoughtful, but um, yeah. So anyway, I don't know.
I wonder how many people responded to like, "Oh, that's such a careless statement. You know, we should be more proactive."
I
Versus like,
wonder. I wonder. That's
yeah,
the thing. I'm sure that all the Democrats did because that's they're going to try to score points on it because nobody can just admit that the person on the other side is when you say that admit when they're reasonable. Like,
right.
so, I don't know. It's a thing. I think that's
Just
probably.
twist it, interpret it in a way that blames or goes against maybe the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Mm,
I don't know. I just have this way of I like people to just be thoughtful. Just say what it is. Of course, I mean, hang on. I will say this. I like it when people are thoughtful.
right.
There we go. Um, like in my class, right, with TAs, I'm always reminding my team, look, man, students, people are all, we can't stop cheating. Okay. People are going to cheat. Where they're taking a test like yesterday, an exam, and they're going to look at in this case, the computer of somebody next to them. They just are like, since the beginning of time, man, that's just how this stuff works.
Right.
So don't get all bent out of shape about it and don't threaten people and don't whatever. It's
Mhm.
just gonna happen. And so just relax. We'll try to stop it as best we can, but we're not gonna, just yeah,
Mm.
we're
What's the
not gonna
reason you tell
stop it.
them that? Yeah, to like not overreact or
Yeah,
treat it
yeah.
more than what it is. What do you want them to like understand from like what you're saying? Like,
Yeah, and I don't. And we don't have to be callous. Well, okay, Trump's statement about Robert Mueller, like, good. I'm glad he's dead. Like, dude, come on, man. That's beyond cringe. That's just so irresponsible. Like, you're telling I mean, like, you're telling people it's okay to gloat like that. I mean, that's fuck. So it's just like, oh, this was cool. Oh, this was you know. Anyway, but it's hard. I don't
mm,
know. People think that things that I say are probably sometimes are irresponsible, and I'm trying not um,
mm.
to
Man,
be responsible.
the difficulty of holding the responsibility or like feeling you get to cater to everyone or like whoever feels like that who's in a position of power, like because
Yeah,
you can't, right? But
yeah, yeah.
um,
I do my best. Yesterday, I was talking in class. I mean, they're asking me questions, and I'm like, and someone asks, like, "Hey, what's one of the most profound things that you've ever experienced?" And I said, "Doing hallucinogenic mushrooms. I mean, by far, like."
yeah,
And it was. I mean, I'm not promoting that. I mean,
right.
although it's increasingly being legalized in the medical community because we're
Hmm.
starting to see, wow, what power um, hallucinogens
Yeah.
hallucinogens have, to heal. But
Hmm. And yeah, say more. What did you say to them about that profound experience?
I think, well, just that I encountered God, man. I saw God. Now with a small G, not a big G.
Hmm.
But for me, it just really changed my thing. I just saw the the sacredness of and the interconnectivity of everything. And like when you
Hmm.
see that, now as I look out my window and I'm seeing the bushes and the trees and the birds fly by and the squirrels and so on,
Hmm.
and just that house next door and the sky, and I can see I feel the interconnectedness. It's sacred.
Hmm.
Life is sacred, and I experience it. Of course, it
But
helped that I was in the mountains in southern Mexico, all isolated in a little cabin.
that had to be awesome. Was this like a micro for you, or was it more of a like full on,
No, no,
if you know
this
what I
was
mean?
I was in another world, man.
Got it. Okay.
This is where they use mushrooms for sacred experiences, the
Oh,
shaman.
so you were with a group of like shamans,
No,
and it
no, it's
was
with a buddy of mine.
got
But
it.
this is
Okay.
the area where
Right.
people use mushrooms. And, it's a really
It's a
wild
deep
experience.
dive. Deep
Yeah, dude,
dive.
we took a deep dive, man.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
profoundly impacted him as
A
well. But
Daisy said that your first question was, "What's up, lowercase g?"
what's what?
What's up, lowercase g? God.
He said your first question when you were on that experience was, "What's up, lowercase g? What's?"
Yeah, lowercase g. Yeah. Yeah, man. It was like, so for me, I had it's the kind of thing you don't go back and do multiple times. It almost like it diminishes, for me anyway, it diminishes a certain kind of value. It's like, let me go
Mm,
back to it. Let me go. If you got to keep going back to it, it didn't have an impact. Well, that's not
right.
necessarily true, but for me, I didn't have to. But
Hmm.
I went there, we went there with the intention. It was
Hmm.
very much a journey. And yeah, it just wow, just profound, man, just really
Did
profound. So
did you go through any like because there's like the deep dives, right? And there's the micro doses, you
yeah,
know, and it makes do you have an opinion on one versus the other? And then also like did you experience have you had any prior experience before you did that? Was there any
yeah,
angst? How did you
yeah,
fight angst? Or did you can't fight angst, you can't fight it, right? So it's
yeah.
like, did you have any thought loops that you went through, or like
So
was it more of like a surrendering experience for you,
okay.
or
All right, so first, and when I was in high school, LSD, a lot of people were dropping acid and all. And
Yeah.
so all my friends were dropping acid. I never did, right?
Oh, you didn't?
No, I never did in high school. I've never done acid.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason was because I didn't feel like I was really ready for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I didn't kind of it's one thing to put smoke in your lungs, for example, or to drink some
Uh-huh.
kind of liquid. It's quite another thing to pop a pill and just
Uh-huh.
be like, or to put a
A
tab of
tab.
acid on your tongue, like anyway, I didn't feel like I needed to do that. It really wasn't where I was at. But by the time I got into my mid-20s, I felt like I was bereft of kind of an understanding of the spirit. And I didn't have a connection with the spirit. I mean, I had tried to be religious, but it just wasn't going to work. And then my brain got involved in the religious journey for me, the Christianity journey. And then
Mm.
once I started to see all of the it just didn't
Mm.
make sense, and I wasn't able to follow that at all. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I couldn't get to God from that. But I understand now. I
Right.
understand how to get to God from the Christ. Like I see that. I get that. It's not
Uh-huh.
I mean, I understand. I understand using that kind of the template or what it would be for the Spirit of Christ to enter oneself. But
Right.
it's just it's a lot. I mean, the Buddha. It doesn't. Whatever. The point is, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But in
Mm-hmm.
this case, I was really I wasn't floundering. I was just very left brain, very intellectual. And I said, you know what, I got to bust out of this. So that's how we ended up on this journey. I was living in Mexico at the time. And so,
Right.
um, yeah,
So
so
that's how you got to that point,
yeah, and
essentially
I
is what you're
wasn't
saying.
doing, yeah, there was no micro journey. I didn't want to go just part of the way. I didn't want to just, kind of open the door a little bit and peek out. I
Uh-huh.
was gonna fling the door open and go, like throw
Yeah.
myself at the experience.
Experience everything about like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I didn't
yeah.
want to be on the top of a mountain and looking down in the valley and seeing God down there. I wanted to go down and be with God, so to speak.
That's awesome.
So
Hmm.
anyway, that's how
And
we ended
when
up.
you did it, was there like a surrendering process? Did you go through any anxiety? Was your friend have
No,
prior experience and was like
nothing.
a sitter for you, or
Nah,
it was
dude,
just
there was no time for anxiety, man.
yeah.
By the time we ate the shrooms, it was about 30 minutes later. These were,
Mm,
the person who kind of didn't guide us. I mean, but we went and we found this guy. I think his name was Jose. My
uh-huh,
friend who I was studying in graduate school, with whom I was studying graduate school, had a little cabin in the mountains in this province south of Oaxaca, between Oaxaca, which is a city in the south, and the Pacific Ocean. And
uh-huh,
um, so we stopped off at this. It was we were riding this bus. I mean, it was like an 8-hour drive probably, and at some point in time, we had to get off at this little town called San Jose del Pacifico. San Jose of the Pacific, right? And we were above the clouds, and we had told the driver, like, hey, this is where we're gonna get off. I mean, it was an old bus. I mean, it was not, a Greyhound bus kind of thing. It was anyway,
yeah.
people on there with chickens and pigs. I mean, so anyway, we get there and we tell the guy, like, hey, we want to get off at at uh at San Jose del Pacifico. So at some point he stops and he turns around and he said, Gringo, yeah, yeah, this is San Jose. We're like, all right, man. We get off. There's nothing, man. There's nothing there. It was just a little two-lane room. We were above the clouds. And I'm like, well, which way do we go? And then we just kept walking ahead, and then we saw a little house. I mean, these were mud and stone houses, with
Wow.
thatch roofs, and also corrugated aluminum roofs.
Dang. Yeah, yeah.
So we wanted to find Maria's restaurant, right?
Uh,
Restaurante de Maria.
what's
And
okay? Is it a popular
we didn't know
restaurant?
what that was. I mean, I had been in Ecuador at this point in time in the mountains in Ecuador, like way up in the mountains. So I understood kind of where I was. This was not, we were not going to find a Coke machine somewhere or something like
Yeah.
so. And so anyway, someone says, "Oh yeah, it's down there," And then we get down there, and someone says, "Oh yeah, yeah, right there. That's Maria's place." And we go, and Maria's place was not a restaurant, man. Maria's place was Maria, right? And then
Wow.
he was. So we go inside, and I'm asking, "Hola Maria, hola, nos mandaron Marcos," So like Marcos sent us, and. Marcos and some in his, no, mandaron y los amigos de Marcos, So anyway, we
You were
so
you ate there.
what happened was we're sitting in her place. This was not her living place. This was really her kitchen. It was
Mm-hmm.
about the size of my room here, so probably like 10 meters by 10 meters,
Mm-hmm.
So there's a stool in one corner and there's a stool in another corner, and Maria is sitting on the ground tending a fire. And she's not
Mm.
saying much at all. And she's probably in her 70s, maybe going on 80. And at some
True.
point in time, she says, usted tiene hambre, but Spanish, Castellano, Spanish wasn't her first language, so but I understood it. Right? There's like 130 languages in Mexico, by the way.
Wow.
So anyway, so I said, yeah, we're hungry. She says, so she says something to her granddaughter, who I assume was her granddaughter. And eventually, this little girl who's maybe like 6 or 7, we see her chasing a chicken around. And then the chicken comes running through the kitchen and out the other door, and the granddaughter's chasing behind it. And eventually you hear, "Whack," and the girl got the chicken and broke its neck. And
Oh
then
wow.
so she brings the chicken in, and we're just sitting there going like, "Whoa, man!" And not only that, but now we're on this journey to do mushrooms, right? So it's really a big part of the
What a
journey.
raw, yeah, this is such
So
a
she,
huge part of the
so
raw experience.
yeah, dude, so raw. And so eventually, so she's got the chicken now. She starts plucking its feathers, right? Like, okay,
Wow.
so eventually she plucks all the feathers and she throws it. And now has kind of stirred up the fire, right? So she's cooking a bowl of some water and, broth. So she eventually puts chicken in the water and then some papas, some potatoes and carrots and different things, right?
Wow.
Onions, garlic, whatever. And at some point in time, I look around me and I realize that there are baskets of mushrooms all around me. And I look at my buddy across the room. So he's like probably 10 feet away, 3, maybe 4 meters away,
Mm-hmm.
sitting there. And you gotta understand, it's like there's windows and doors and the whole thing. And so
Uh-huh.
she says, I point to him, I'm like, dude, like look. And he looks and he sees baskets of mushrooms everywhere. Because this is, mushrooms, that was a big part of all these rituals with people. So
Uh-huh. Wow. And you knew there were psychedelic mushrooms,
these were hallucinogenic mushrooms.
hallucinogenic,
There are
yeah.
probably lots of different mushrooms, but
Right.
eventually
So, mhm.
we're just like, okay, we're in the right place. But this, it's a thing, right? Koreans have this thing, they call it nunchi, right? It's like
Mhm.
you got to be like really socially suave, right? You got to really understand.
Mm. Right.
read the room. So the room was, I wasn't going to ask her, where do we get mushrooms? So we're just like, all right, just sit tight, it'll happen, right? So eventually the soup is done an hour later, whatever, I don't know, and she serves us a bowl of soup, best soup ever. And I mean, you know I'm gonna say that, right? Ah, this is the most amazing soup ever. So like, okay. So,
Uh,
but it was very tasty. So we eat the soup and we thank her, and then we go. We ask, okay, where's his cabin? She said, I just go down the road and,
mhm.
and look for or ask for, you know, Jose or Juan. I don't remember his name actually. I wish I could remember his name. Anyway, so we eventually get down and we walk about a kilometer or so, and then there's this house on the side of the road. And so we
Mhm.
ask, like, hey, it's just Jose's house. And he's like, yeah, I'm Jose. So we say, okay, Marco, you're from Marco. So we're like, okay, good.
Mhm.
So so I said, well, we're here, we're gonna stay at Marcos's place. Okay. So he takes us down the path and we get to this little cabin. Again, it's like made of mud and some stone blocks, and I
Wow.
think it had corrugated aluminum roof.
Right.
And then he says, ustedes quieren hongos? Do you want mushrooms? I'm like, yeah, man, yeah. He says, all right, hang on. So he goes off to the forest, and he comes back with banana leaves and two different banana leaves, one for me, one from my buddy. He said, here you go. And we're like, okay, man, here we go. We're gonna take a journey. And
Let's
that's it, man. We're in the
go.
middle of Mexico in the mountains, and we've got these banana leaves filled with hongos, and we don't have any
Ah,
idea what's up. And we just threw caution to the wind, and we're like, "Yep, we're
nice.
going to take a journey." And that was it, man.
Let
That was
go.
history.
Man, and like man, not like I guess you're saying that was it, but like not that was it because the whole beginning of the journey was just so organic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
the life, I don't know if you were thinking that, but like knowing what you're about to go do, and then like the chicken is alive and it's like a little girl grabs it and then
yeah,
like
yeah.
essentially like sacrifices the chicken, in a way,
Dude,
and like,
e-
and you have this
everything.
organic raw soup
Yeah, yeah.
made by this like
This
woman
woman
who,
who is as organic as you're gonna get, man.
yeah,
She was of the earth, and
uh,
we
that's
knew we knew that we were on a journey for sure. And but this is kind of how my life has been, right?
right.
I've never said no to an experience, like it's because it's about the experience of being alive, right?
Yeah,
And I'm not
yeah.
willy-nilly. I mean, I don't
No, you're
do these things
following,
lightly, but
yeah. It's not like you're just like YOLO, only live once. This is the profoundness of
yeah,
human
yeah,
experience, and
yeah,
like these moments that people will
yeah.
just might pass somebody by is actually just
Mm.
so sacred,
Dude,
like
it's sacred. That's the key. And you know what? Oh, and yeah, dude, yeah, easy, totally, man. My spine tingled also. So okay, here we go.
yeah,
And I will never forget. We had a candle. We brought a candle with us because in the marketplace in
nice.
Oaxaca, we stayed there for a couple of days. We went to this candle shop for the Catholic Church, and all these places you go because you light candles, for the saints. And
Yeah,
we got this big candle. It was round. It was maybe like an inch and a half round, and it was long. It was maybe a half meter long.
wow,
So we had that burning in the corner. And the cabin was nothing. It was a slab of cement that was about the size of a twin bed. Okay. And that
wow,
was it. There was nothing. It was a dirt floor. So he had a blanket. I had a blanket. That's it, man. We were like, you
wow.
know, so
Uh-huh.
we had the candle lit and then we just sat. We ate the shrooms, and then we just sat and we waited. We just waited. And then at some point in time, man,
It's
I'm looking
happening.
at the light bouncing off the wall and I went and I saw like a zzz, and I went, dude, did you see that? And he said, no, man, no, no, no. And then suddenly he says, whoa, did you see that? And I'm like, no, see what? And then that went kind of back and forth for maybe about a minute or so, and then before we know it, we were just in, right? So here's the
Wow.
profound thing. The
Yeah.
next morning, so we have the whole experience, which I can't even describe because it doesn't, you can't,
Right.
it's not describable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the next morning we went back to Maria's place to have some breakfast, and we passed these older men, elderly men. They were sitting on the porch of this house,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy says, starts talking to us, mushrooms. Let's take a journey. That's what he said. You should take a journey. We're like, yeah. And he said, oh, you saw the snake, didn't you? And like the serpent, serpiente, right? And like,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, we saw the snakes because the snake was there with us, like in the experience,
Really?
Yeah. And he said, and did you see the eagle? So the eagle and the snake are the two symbols of Mexico. So if you look at the Mexican
Yeah.
flag, you see that the eagle is holding the snake in its talons.
Right.
Yeah, man, we saw the eagle too. Like shit.
Really?
Yeah, really intense, man. These guys are like, yeah, of course you did. So
No way. And so
anyway,
you remember those imageries?
yeah. No, they were there. I mean, they visited us in that experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow, that's really cool. I just want to
yeah.
sit.
It was really a nice,
It's like, what does that mean?
dude. I don't know, man. I don't know.
The
I don't
fact
know.
that you
But
saw what they asked you, if they,
yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah,
dang.
yeah. It was very special. And I would say that was the beginning for me of a, I think in a way, it's, it's where, it's when I really kind of, it's when when I stopped fighting with God, really, really fighting with God. And I was
Mm,
able, and I just went into a much more of a kind of a questioning space,
like,
like yeah, when you're like, if this is how you are, if this is what this is, this the Great Spirit, again, it's God with a small G, right? Why
hmm
isn't why isn't why are we living in this? Like, what is this? Why are we stuck in all this silliness that we're in, and why are we in this sacred space all the time? But of
right.
course, a lot of people try to be in this sacred space, and then they become addicts, and all sorts of bad things happen to them. So you have to
hmm
be thoughtful, but it's
Wow, that's so interesting. And so for that helped you understand a little bit more about something, or to bring you, I don't know what the word would be for that.
at the
Yeah.
same time, it gave me I felt like I understood. Uh, it made me really kind of, in a certain sense, kind of angry with the Great Spirit, but also
hmm
it gave me a lot of compassion. Yeah,
mm
it's like, yeah,
Like almost like that wasn't the exact answer that you wanted originally, which like led to like anger a
yeah,
little bit, and
yeah.
then kind of, but then still at the same time, a compassion was still there,
Well, what
even
I
through the.
saw was that there's a sacredness to life, but I just hadn't tapped into it. And so I
hmm
was in my head, I was in the space of, again, the previous summer, I had been in Ecuador for the first time. It was the first time I was in what we would say was the less developed world. Back then, we would say a third world country, right?
hmm
And I had just seen just things that, damn, they just
That would
were,
make you angry.
yeah, I just felt so enraged
Yeah.
at life and how this is. And so anyway,
So you were prepared with questions for God about
it
like,
was, yeah, I was prepared. I had a lot to argue about. But in the end,
yeah,
what this did was open me in a new way. Now I still had a lot of questions, and I've still spent my life sometimes getting really pissed.
yeah.
But
hmm
it's just different.
Did
Yeah.
was the morning pretty like somber, or was like did waking
Yeah,
up
it was pretty
or
somber, man. Yeah, it was like whoa, we were just kind of very tentatively moving to say how was that? Like, um,
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah.
anyway, that's kind of so that to me when as I'm like kind of teaching all these young people, like when the other day, I guess it was on Tuesday's class. Yesterday, I got maybe it was yesterday. I'm just like, man, I got stories. I got a lot of stories, but you can't tell a story. Sometimes the stories are just your own, and
Mm,
you can't.
hmm. But it's like you wish you could because you know what that could like, or like you'd hope what knowledge
Yeah,
that would impart
yeah, yeah,
them, but
yeah. But the thing is,
that the experience it
everything.
themselves or
Yeah, but the problem is that everybody has to take their own journey, you
right.
know, and that's just what it is. You can't, if you meet the guru on the path to enlightenment, then kill him because that who I forget who said that. I
That's
forget
cool.
which one of these people said that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the message from that again? Because I think
Well, the
it's
message
like
is just like if you see someone who says I'm the guru, you need to don't stop and talk to them. Either get out
right,
of the way. Like that's like don't bother with that person because anyone who says they're a guru is not a guru. It's like
right.
enlightenment. My
Hmm.
one student yesterday, have I ever seen or achieved enlightenment or where are you enlightened? So I forget what they said, something like that. I'm like, dude, for 3 seconds at a time. I get if I can make it last for 15 seconds, the enlightenment, I'm like, that's a lot. But uh
Yeah, like
yeah,
so you're
think,
always in reach of it, or like
yeah.
it's like a little out of reach.
Hey, can somebody look up if you meet the guru on the path to enlightenment, kill him? Can someone look that up?
I'm gonna look it up.
Tell me like who said that? Charles Bukowski or somebody like that, you know. Um, yeah.
Uh, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him is a famous 9th century Zen Buddhist koan by Linji Yixan,
Mm.
meaning you must
Okay, there we
destroy
go.
an externalized conceptual image of enlightenment or authority to find your own inner wisdom.
Yeah.
It advises against relying on idols, dogma, or teachers, emphasizing that true awakening comes from within.
Yeah. You know what? That's where um that's why I don't like that's there's a part of me because of that, because I believe in that so strongly. There's a part of me that doesn't like to do all the things that I do, like kind of
Mm,
stream and teach and make videos and all that kind of stuff because I just absolutely do not want. I want people to take some of my ideas and like run with them, do their own
mhm.
thing with them. But my God, do not. It, we're do not. The
For
thought of
you, like
seeing me a special or something, it's like
yeah,
do that. That's just it's not what it is, man. You gotta take your own path. And just like I
hmm
took my own path. And you can't come back and try to tell somebody else what the path is. It's just not that, you know. If you can be
yeah,
inspirational to somebody else, right? Like you,
right.
all the experiences you have driving and Uber, with Uber, you have
Hmm.
these singular interactions with people, and it's just sort of they push you to see something and you push them to see something and that's it. You just get a little closer to whatever it is.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That that's why I'm like I
Yeah.
love that story you said,
Yeah.
just because of like the rawness of experiences like that just breaks
This,
so many different things that you might have thought or like expands like not in this like
yeah.
egoic way, but just it
Yeah.
expands just or you unlearn like like
Yeah.
or uh I don't know. It's just man, it's like
Well, the problem is not the problem, but the beauty is that um I mean, it's a thing that I wrestle with a lot, that I just wish I could put it all together in a singular narrative and just say everything that I've learned, only because for myself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. And so, hey, I don't know what
Because
Biomod, Penn State, I don't know what galaxy gas is.
galaxy gas.
Galaxy gas. Dangerously addictive. Yeah, what is galaxy gas?
Galaxy gas.
Yeah.
Sounds
And
I,
like
th-
cannabis.
I think it
yeah.
was a food product, but it had like nitrous gas in it or something, and so
Oh
people were
yeah,
just huffing that
dangerous.
constantly.
Oh God. Yeah.
Kind of like
Yeah,
whippets.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But they were sold in these huge quantities because it's for food. Like I forget what it helps make, something with baking
Oh.
maybe, and it had like a bunch of different flavors you can get, and people were getting these massive amounts of nitrous essentially.
Yeah, no, that kind of stuff's never. I've always known in my life to don't just
Me
you know.
too.
For example, the first time um, that I had cocaine, right,
Hmm.
and I was 25, I think, maybe 26. I don't remember when I was, but I only did it. I only had it twice. I didn't. It's just like I knew what it was. But you know, I'm one of these. I'm a sociologist, so I have to try these things. You know, like it's really important for me. These.
Right.
It's not experimenting for my own journey. I mean, it's like no. I want. What is this thing? I know it's like I'm doing having for
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
so I knew it wasn't going to kill me. You know,
Yeah.
but and I don't have an addictive bone in my body. I just don't have that. And
Right.
so I didn't have to worry about it. So I'm like, okay, let me just see what this is. And like,
Hmm.
whoa, okay, I see why people get addicted to this stuff.
Right.
That's holy smokes, man. So forever then, I I have an understanding of that. And so it's really beneficial for me. It's been really good for me just as a sociologist, as a human being when I encounter people that I'm like, I get what that is. And then I
Yeah.
can tell people, dude, don't do if you were prone, like I've told many students of mine over the years on different things or people that I know, if you have a tendency, a predisposition toward addiction in any way, do not do that. Like, don't do it. It's a
Hmm.
bad idea.
Yeah.
You gotta be so strong. And then crack is even more, it's like boom, man. You know, holy smoke. What? Oh God, it is brutal. Uh,
Yeah, especially I can only imagine like how that type of because I've taken a time before, and I can only imagine how it helps people like cover up certain parts or like compensate for things that they feel like they might be insecure in or like
yeah,
socially or like connecting with themselves and like how
yeah,
it can like help them compensate to
yeah,
connect with themselves or connect with others in a way that actually is like, and then it just raises your dopamine levels to an
yeah,
insane, and then
yeah.
your brain can no longer reach those levels. And then when you're off of it, you're
And you
like,
got to
I
go back
need,
on. This is the problem with
yeah,
alcohol. When people say, "Oh, I need to have a couple," when I go out dancing or something, I need a couple drinks just to relax myself. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I get that, but understand that you've got to be able to do the work and not do that. Like you really
yeah,
have to, but it's fine. Like be careful, but you got to also be able to do the work, man.
yeah. That can't wait. That can't be the way that you achieve your social goals, I guess, like
Yeah, yeah.
authentically.
Well, I had a student one time who was got a job with the DEA working undercover. Okay, so now
That's so cool.
he came
Yeah.
back after he was actually he wasn't technically my student, but I knew him, and then he was the student of my office mate. He worked for my office mate, so we knew that.
Hmm.
Anyway, he worked undercover with the DEA. Okay, so now you say like, oh yeah,
Sick.
that's cool. Like, yeah, well,
Yeah,
hang on, let me tell you the story. So
yeah.
he came back in, man. This guy was like, he was of a different mind. Like his mind, he just couldn't. He 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 wasn't right. Like he wasn't right. Okay. So essentially what happened was they took him, so he and a few other people that were going to work undercover. It's like the most dangerous thing about working undercover is you get people find out. And he was going at the deep level. He was going to be working in Latin America in different ways. So like it's really, really dangerous to be in these positions. He wasn't like a narc where he goes and finds Penn State students to sell them, a mini ball of Coke or something.
Right.
It was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
different. So
Different. Like when involved with like deep gangs or like
this is
cartels
like
or like
he's going at another level, right? So the first thing they do is they take him to this place, they take all these folks in, they're in this big space, and they had every drug you could possibly, he's like, every drug you could possibly imagine, man. Everything was in there. And they're like, yeah, you got to do all of it. You got to try it. You got to try it all. I mean, your life depends on your ability to understand what these things do, what they are, how to do them. You got to be able to lay out a line of coke and know how to snort a line of coke. And you better have done it many times, or they're gonna know that you haven't done this. You got to
yeah.
be able to roll joints. You got to one thing after another, man.
Yep.
And uh, so this guy, smoked some rocks of crack, meth, one thing after, dude, every drug. This guy, he said, so within a month, my recollection is that it was about a month or 2 months or something like that they were getting acclimated to all of these drugs. This is the US government, right? I mean, this is very, very undercover. Now, this guy might have been schizophrenic or something and came back and been lying
Mm,
to us, but he had been working with the DEA. We knew that. So like,
right.
okay, this is anyway, so wow, man. Yeah, he was just freaked out. And then so then he retired from it and he moved into some other position, but he just his life was never the same. Well, maybe it is now, but at that point in time, he
He
was
was just like
he was in a
he's fried.
yeah, it was terrible, man. Yeah, it sounds like a bullshit story. I know, that's what I said. To be honest, that's exactly it, man. And that's what my buddy and I, but my buddy is like, yeah, he was working with my buddy, he worked with police officers, my colleague. And so he was very tuned into all the police departments and stuff.
That
But
it makes sense for that to be like if you're gonna be
yeah,
undercover to have
yeah,
to
totally, man.
yeah.
Totally. No, no, no. You gotta be like you
You've
better.
you've got to know the literature.
Dude,
I
you
think
better
that's
know it, man. You better
yeah,
know it. Well, I mean, this is the nature. I've read enough about this. It's like, yeah, you're going to be doing some things that are deeply disturbing and deeply troubling.
yeah.
So I'm,
What's
I'm,
the
I'm
yeah.
endlessly a skeptic about this stuff, but
Hmm.
like, yeah, well,
That makes
bullshit
so much
all
sense to
huh?
me.
Like bullshit. Yeah, AZ, I got you, man. But whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
uh,
because just imagine you're like, oh, you haven't done this before, and then probably just, associate people that haven't done it with like,
yeah,
oh, there's potential to flag you, That
yeah,
makes sense to me. But
yeah,
not saying that
yeah.
is true, but I definitely see that as a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah, it's very well yeah, you're gonna do it, man. I've talked to a few other I've known a few other people that worked undercover and there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on, man.
Right.
But,
Dang, that's
life can be shady. I mean, that's just
interesting.
yeah,
I'd love to be undercover cop. That'd be crazy.
yeah, well, it's very yeah.
That'd be
Um
cool.
I taught back in 1996. I taught a class on the drug war. Uh, so um, it was called the technical title of the class was drug trafficking, narcotics and trafficking. That's what it was, and it was with this
Mhm.
dude. He designed the class and he was just well known as an expert on narcotic and trafficking, in up at Penn State. He has since died.
Mm.
Anyway, one semester they needed someone to teach it, but I really couldn't do narcotics and trafficking. Like, it wasn't my thing, man. Especially when you're trying to follow in the footsteps of somebody who's had a lifetime of experience with this. So I
Mm-hmm.
changed the name of the class to uh, the drug war in America, and that was something that I had been very more involved in and
Uh-huh.
studying, working with. I had published a bunch of papers on that
Okay, wow,
at
that's
that point
cool.
in time. Yeah, so I taught it with one other person, and then there was another person kind of on the sidelines who had just written a book on the drug war. He was a former dean here at Penn State, so he would come in regularly.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like really deep. So Axel, the answer to your question is I was, yeah, much more deep into that at that time. But this was, yeah, 96, I think, maybe 97. It's possible it was 97, but
Mm-hmm.
hmm, yeah, that's the thing, man.
Mm.
Um,
And uh you would do that alongside the guy that would focus on like the narcotics and drug.
yeah,
It's
yeah. Well, we didn't
it's
do
kind
a
of like a
lot on narcotics because it was mostly the former dean. His book was on drug policy and the drug war, and it was we kind of he dealt more with marijuana, but interesting story. If I taught the class today, Darth Nuka, um, I would I would be much less. I tended at that time, we really were kind of pushing for a Dutch model of reform, you know, and the idea being that the biggest problem is, you do one drug and that opens you to the next one and the next one and the next one, right? For
mm,
various reasons. One is like, well, I tried this drug, let me try the next one, see what that's about.
right.
I didn't die snorting coke, so let me like see what's crack like.
Uh,
Let me snort some heroin.
so that's the gate when a gateway drug thing started to
Yeah,
take.
and it doesn't, and it's not, and the gateway, the way it works more than anything is like, well, it just piques your curiosity from on one, because and that's the first thing. But secondly, it opens you into the world. It's like, well, I've been buying my weed from this one person, this
Mm,
dealer, right? And then the dealer's like, hey man, do you need any coke? My buddy over here is selling some coke, so you want to try that? And so, it's like you've now entered the world of the next person. So the gateway theory, it's not a theory. I mean, it's real.
right.
So, but it's not
Mm.
like one drug leads you it will cause you to take the next one. No, I mean,
It's more about the relationships and trust formed
yeah, like
around and
almost everyone who's ever driven a car has also previously drove or rode a bicycle. You know what I mean? Bicycles don't lead to driving cars, but that's what it is. So you used and most people that smoke back in my day, it's very different now because tobacco is very different. But in my day, almost everybody that smoked weed has had smoked a cigarette or two or 20 or 100. I don't know.
right.
It's just kind of how everybody tried cigarettes. I mean, today it's very different. Lots of people smoke weed, they've never touched tobacco. But so it's not the gateway. It's not that the tobacco causes you to want to smoke marijuana, but it's that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So so
Mm-hmm.
anyway, that I think the Dutch model idea
Mm.
was, hey, listen, man, we want to stop the gateway process. So the best way we can stop that process is to get people, if they're going to try weed, and that's usually the first one they try, the so-called the illegal drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we want them to just be able to buy cannabis and not encounter anybody who's selling anything else. So just go here, go to the
Right.
coffee shops, buy your cannabis. Don't we don't want you to encounter meth or cocaine or opium or anything, whatever the other things
That's
are.
interesting.
Yeah, so keep it separate. So that's why you have these coffee shops, and in Europe would really push for this, right? And it was pretty effective in that
That's
way.
So is it essentially like that's so interesting because when you formed a relationship of trust with like a drug dealer, and then a drug dealer asks if you want to try something new, that's when the drug dealer starts to interact with your self-efficacy of drugs. You know, and you could say, "Oh,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
done
yeah, yeah,
well with
yeah,
marijuana. I'm sure I
yeah.
could be fine on cocaine." Like you're because the self-efficacy is like, "Oh, I think I can do because I've done well before. I'll probably be okay now." Like the
Well,
self-efficacy. So it's like the drug dealer is like working with your
exactly. Yeah,
self-efficacy.
exactly. Or it's like, well, you know, the drug, you know, I'm in high school or I remember junior high school, like drug dealers. It's like, oh my God, you know, like drug dealers. They're like these really terrible people. And then I meet the drug dealer who's like selling bags of weed out of the bathroom in high school. I'm like, well, that guy's a drug dealer, but that's just my buddy Tony from AP or not mine,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
from history class. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
Tony, the guy, that kid, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, okay. Well, he's okay,
Harmless.
well, drug dealers then. Well, that's a drug dealer. Okay, well, oh, but that dealer is selling coke. It's like, oh, well,
It's just
how are they
Tony.
any different than this guy Tony? You know?
Right.
So
Hmm.
see,
That's
try to
so
scare people, and then the scaring comes back against us. You know.
and associations. It's so
Okay, so
crazy. Yeah.
I'm going back to answer the question earlier. So I think I was really big on that model. And then the other thing that the Dutch did in particular, but the Swiss did it, lots of and Europeans did, it was like, hey, listen, man, if you're going to use the harder drugs like heroin and stuff, come here. Like you know, it's like in Amsterdam, you go to the basement of a police station and they got everything set up there and they have nurses and they have this and that and the other thing, clean needles. Shoot,
Right.
shoot up there. But now we
Yep.
got you. Now you're in the basement and we got your attention. It's like, hey, listen, we'll give you the heroin. You can do it, but do it right here. But now our goal is to A, we don't want you to steal stuff. So come here. We'll make sure you can get heroin, whatever you need. But also, what we're going to do is try to get you off the heroin and get you onto methadone. So we're going to try to
Hmm.
convince you. We got you here now. We can talk to you. So let's try to convince you to start a methadone process or so whatever drug we're going to use to wean you off of heroin and then have you not be addicted. So
Right. And
that's the goal, right? So that's
uh,
you see how smart
yeah,
that is. You
in the
know what I
process,
mean?
yeah, because you're like
Yeah,
not
yeah,
otherizing, members of society. And like when you take out the othering, then there's like you create
yeah,
moment of intervention. That's what it seems like,
yeah,
or
yeah,
like,
yeah,
because then you
yeah,
like
exactly.
authorize them, you think they need to be punished, and then because
Yeah,
they're punished, they're more distanced
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
so,
No, this is it. Yeah. So anyway, hang on. I want to respond to something. Axel. Yeah, I think there's a definite relationship between an ill society and ill drug consumption. And it's like, you know, like why are we consuming all the drugs? Well, it's alcohol. It's all sorts of stuff. It's alcohol. Why are students? Why is there so much beer drinking on a campus, you know, for example? Because maybe people aren't alive. Maybe because the education is so bad. In any case, okay, so
mm-hmm.
here is so you see this European model, right? So me, in that time, I'm thinking, dude, this just do the European model. Like this has to be we need to decriminalize marijuana here in the United States. That's just fundamental. I mean, that's a starting point, right?
Right.
Because marijuana was, you know, it's a Schedule One drug. It's scheduled at the same level as heroin. Marijuana and heroin are not the same, right?
Yeah.
So we pushed and pushed and pushed. It still is that way. I mean, but maybe we're switching that now. But uh, we need to we need to get off of that. We need to change.
Yeah.
So I was a big part of big proponent of that. But now what has happened was now we've got weed that's largely decriminalized over two-thirds of the United States. And if it's not, you can drive a half hour, 45 minutes in your car to a state and buy cannabis, you know.
Yeah.
But we've got this really, man, I think I didn't, we're not seeing cannabis usage among young people skyrocket. So we're not seeing that. The data are not showing that, but it's not, I don't know, man. I'm just not. There's a lot of people, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sure.
Well,
I have a lot more questions at this stage than I did. I'm smarter today than I was then. Yeah. So
hmm yeah. And I wonder what the percentage of people like still buying cannabis just like from drug dealers than going to the shops because of how much the expense, like the cost of buying
yeah,
it from a
yeah,
recreational
yeah,
spot versus like buying it from a dealer that somebody knows. I
yeah,
wonder how often people are doing like one or the other.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Because
okay. So, Angela, you said like to be honest, alcohol's a gateway drug. Yeah, I don't think I've ever known anyone who smokes weed. Just to start there, who's done coke, heroin, whatever it is. I don't think I've ever known anyone that also didn't start out by drinking. So, but we don't see that, right? And so we change that, and then we just learn that some things are bad, like drugs are. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's very complicated, you know. Yeah, it's very complicated. And what about these phones, man? What about these phones? We're starting now to really question these with the kids and with all of us, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's so interesting.
yeah. So it's I don't know. Uh,
Mm.
anyway, I've become, I think, smart. If I taught that class today, first off, I would we did a pretty good job of being kind of balanced because there were lots and lots of future police officers in the class, and they were very clearly like, "Hey, drugs are bad," and so like this is a problem. And they weren't very open to even the European model. A lot of folks, well, they had never heard of it, but they couldn't imagine it, you know. And so
Uh-huh.
it forced us to be pretty balanced, you know.
And a lot of that comes from like models of parenting, right? Like the way, I don't know, it's just certain
Yeah,
the
yeah. Listen, just digital simulations. I'm with you on that, man. Like when I'm in New York and
mm,
everywhere I turn, like they smell like the skunk weed, you know. I'm like, I don't like that. Like I don't. Yeah, I don't. It doesn't. It used to be kind of fun when I was young and be like, oh wow, someone's smoking weed, you know, because you so rarely smelled it. But it's like, yeah, I'm not, you know, just kind of like
mm,
tobacco. I don't really want
uh,
to, yeah.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
but Chambray 24, yeah, like kids addicted to spray paint fumes. Yeah, there are a lot of things that are far worse than that. But yeah,
Yeah, I had
yeah.
friends in my high school, I guess they would take like 7 Euconnects just to so they could like feel something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Mm,
Axel, I'm with you, the European model. I know we from over here we just called it the European model, but it definitely is every nation has its own way of it was really mostly it was the Dutch model. It's just that, you know, like the Portuguese, they were really have been working on heroin, although they're backing off. They really focused on that, for example, for a hot minute. And yeah, I see that. It's
do,
really our big thing was, I think, the Dutch model because we were also sending kids over to to the Netherlands to study that.
mm,
So that was kind of a thing. Um,
huh. You think these like these frames of like these approaches to solve problems are like because Dutch they're like what more an interdependent community? And so you think it like birthed out of the fact that like maybe these communities are interdependent or and so there's like more compassion involved in or like restorative justice involved in approaching or like I wonder how these more humanistic like models like come
yeah,
about or show up versus
yeah.
models that are more
I don't know. Yeah, there's some things, man, that I just feel like are too. It's just complicated. I almost just my brain Im implodes at some level.
mm,
Yeah, and
hmm
I can't, and I recognize that not everybody is like me. I'm just a moderate person, you
right.
know. And it's just I'm very moderate. It is in that. I'll like, Lori and I'll have a beer later, and I'll get toward the end of my beer, and I'll be like, maybe I'll have 2 beers tonight because I love the taste so much,
Yeah.
And then 99 times out of 100, I mean, almost every time I have the same thought, like, God, maybe I'll have another one.
But you
99%
don't.
of the time, I will just be like, yeah, but I'm not going to. And I understand what it means for a person to be like, oh yeah, let me have another one. But I just don't. I just somehow something kicks in my mind. It just now you don't want to do that. And I
Yeah.
recognize that I'm really, really, really lucky. Yeah,
Hmm. I wonder what.
hello. Saudi Arabia is in the house. So
Facts.
yeah, I
That's
realize that I'm really lucky. That this, yeah, and that feels good. It just feels like I, I'm, and I don't think that um, I don't have the idea that other people should be like me. By the way, man, I don't know if I ever told a story about it. When I would go to these concerts when I was like 13 and 14, there would be these pushers there. These pushers, I call them pushers. We call them pushers back in the day. They
Mm.
wore these big trench coats. Did I tell this story?
I
And
Yeah, oh
inside
yeah,
they
yeah,
were
you
these
did when
pockets. And, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was like, that was some scary stuff, man. Because I wasn't, as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, I just, it's like, dang, man, it wasn't cool to me. Like I was lucky that I didn't see that as cool. So,
they had everything you said. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. All right, so listen, man. Yeah, like, because I was always afraid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was not afraid, but I didn't, I knew something told me life was really cool, but don't get addicted to anything. It's just very lucky, man. Just don't get addicted to anything. So,
Mm. It's so
yeah,
interesting because like I feel like that feeling, it's so easy for people to ride on, the moment that I don't know what it is. It's like a boost of like confidence or like a boost of like egocentrism or like when you feel like you're on top. And
yeah, yeah,
and then they just like ride on that wave and it's like riding on that wave of emotion. But you're saying there's this thing in you that stops you from like riding on that wave of temporary uh peak high
yeah.
kind
The
of
peak.
thing.
Okay,
Hmm.
so here's a story on that. When I had the the first, I've only had Coke twice in my life. That's it. Which is given how available it was all of my life, pretty amazing. But both times to try, but the first time I had it, the second time was just to see if the first time was a quirk.
Hmm.
The first time was man, I had it and I went, with crack, you go like this. It's like the rocket straight up,
The
man.
Mars, yeah.
And then you come
Dang.
straight down. You go up, and 5 minutes later, you come straight down. And that's why people keep getting the rocks and just keep firing them up. But it is like, you don't, within seconds, you are like, boom, and then you come down. Okay. Coke, you go, it's like this. And then you're up there and you're like, whoa, man, this is a really, really, really nice feeling. And you
Yeah.
go, and it's a good feeling. And then you start coming down, right? It's not like this, but you start coming down. So I
Yeah.
came down and the first thought I had was, huh, did I gotta get back up there. And then I thought to myself, like, can I does anyone have any more of this? Kind of, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then I saw like, okay, well, I said that I never had that experience in my life ever, ever, ever.
Wow.
I want to
Yeah.
get more of this. Never, ever, man.
And that
Well,
was
one time I was drinking about a $300 bottle of wine, and I'm like, I got to the bottle of the wine, and I was like, dang, no, I'm not going to get more of that because I can't, obviously I'm not because I'm not going to pay for it.
right.
But
It's
yeah, I saw that and then I understood. I went, oh, okay, I got that.
You like saw yourself for a moment, like you like stepped outside of yourself and you saw, you're like, oh man, this is like I'm seeing the that like addict behavior, like that's what the
Exactly.
addict behaviors have,
Yep. Yep,
of
exactly.
just
It was really valuable for me in my life because I never experienced that. So I got it. So like from that
hmm
moment, I don't judge addicts. I would really judge addicts a lot. It's like, come on, man, get your life together. But
right.
I didn't judge. I I was able to see it, empathize, and like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Yeah,
But that's
because
the power, man, and that's when I'm like, okay, hang on. Now, I don't think like if you want to be a drug counselor or whatever the case is, you don't have to go out and do all that stuff, like that's not.
hmm
But
hmm
it's man, it's
it's
pretty
it
cool.
could be like even I think you could even experience that feeling from people that are like super dependent on being with other people. And in the moment that you're like, if you all you need is just wanted to be around other people and be around other people, and like you just feel so much more wholesome and like connected with the other people. And then when you're alone and like that feeling of like loneliness, I
Yeah, yeah,
think can kind of describe the feeling that people get when they're like on that high of feeling so connected by like the cocaine, and it's almost everything that they're saying feels like divinity or like, just and
yeah,
connected. And then as soon as you're off of it, it's like this hollowness. I think
yeah,
that, and they're
yeah,
like, I need to get
yeah.
back to that
Yep,
kind
yep.
of.
You get back to it, and then you see it. You watch it destroy people, like just digital simulations. Is saying you watch someone sit over a stove for 8 hours, spend $350 on coke. You see that, and you just like, dude, you're gonna go that route, or you're gonna go a different route. And if you're gonna go this other route, you got to be very careful about the landmines that you step on. So
Mm,
yeah. So anyway, that's my
so interesting.
you
Good
know.
man. Yeah.
I would say I've been very lucky and very blessed and in that way. And I watched a lot of my friends when I was in high school. I watched them just experiment. They were hanging out with people who were older, and I
hmm
watched them kind of start to experiment. And I was like, nah, you know what? You guys, you go off there. I'm not. I don't need to. It's just like so lucky.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky. God, I can't believe. And my sister was an addict, so she was a heroin addict and a coke addict and different things. So
Mm,
that kind of helped, Although back then I didn't really fully understand the nature of it, but
right.
you can see it
Yeah.
up close. It's just yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard.
I had an experience when I was in Massachusetts, and I was forming a friend group up there. And there was this one dude that was in the friend group that I guess would take cocaine a lot and like did a lot of cocaine. And man, I could just see that it was like just hard for him to like form sentences, or just like the
Yeah,
way
I don't know.
like he just wasn't thinking as fast, and I don't know how much, but it just really seemed like it was due to like the consumption of drugs. It was just,
Oh,
man, it just ate his
yeah.
brain.
No,
It
that's
seems
what I'm
like,
always trying to kind of send that message to students. Like if you feel like you're struggling now, you better get it under control because whatever it is, most often it's alcohol, but um, or depression, even to whatever it is, to get it under control now because it gets harder. Hey, by the way, I just want to say we haven't really been talking about the war at all. I don't know. We sort of walked down this path and we haven't talked about some things. I really want to have some conversations. Maybe, maybe. Yeah, maybe next week. I think next week we should really jump into the word. Maybe I will I'll invite a couple people on who we can have that conversation.
some guess, sweet.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. I think yeah. Yeah, Ziesendorf, you asked about the war. Yeah, I think I sometimes, man, I just don't sometimes can just get too much for me. Like I gotta just take a break from it for a little bit. Anyway, Tomorrow, I we are going to have I think a really cool conversation in class. And so I think it's good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's class. I think it'll be a really cool class. So
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Stay tuned.
Um, um, all right, Ziesendorf, I'll take you up on the CIA one. Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody, we're gonna head out, and that's it. Next class stream tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Thanks everyone, and we will, yeah, we'll be there.